welcome to this 1 hour restorative yoga session that you can follow along with me at home. So for this class today, you will need a bolster and a cushion or maybe a blanket that you can fold up and support your body with it. So we're going to begin in Shavasana. We're going to use the bolster underneath the knees and the pillow underneath the head, just to bring us into a really beautiful state of supported rest to begin. So placing the bolster under the crook of the knees and then feeling the spine nice and long and then relaxing back down along the mat. Bringing the cushion or the blanket to touch the shoulders and then stretching the legs long and giving your weight into the mat and allowing yourself to just settle and cultivating that sense of arriving in the present. Paying attention to how your body is lying here and making any adjustments as we scan from head to toes. So beginning with the neck, gently pressing the back of the head into the cushion or blanket and slightly tilting the chin towards the chest so that you feel a sense of length at the back of the head, at the back of the neck, and then just relaxing into that. And bringing attention down to your shoulder blades, so tucking one underneath and then the other by rolling them down and away and feeling the shoulder blades come to rest flat underneath your back. So palms are facing towards the sky, maybe a little bit away from the body. And then feeling your lower back, making sure that it feels happy, no pinching or pulling. So you can adjust this by tilting the pelvis forward and then backward. And then finding that neutral midpoint where it feels relaxed and supported in a neutral pelvic tilt. And finally the feet about hip width apart and falling towards the outer edges of your mat. And taking a slightly deeper breath. And just letting go on the exhale. And then noticing your breath. Riding the inhale and exhale gently, effortlessly. Using this time to really focus on the present. And so the mind may begin to wander, and that's okay. That's what minds do. Just letting go of that train of thought whenever it arises, and gently leading the mind and the attention back to the breath. Body melting into the floor, heavy and relaxed, and nothing to do but to just be present and enjoy this moment of stillness. Half a minute more here. Really enjoy this moment. more deeper breaths now as we prepare to move. And so to move out of Shavasana, first bring one foot up onto the bolster, bending into the knee, and then the other. And we can just move that out of the way for now, pushing it off to the end of our mat. We're going to come into a reclined twist. But to make this a little bit more restorative, I'm going to place the blanket or the cushion, if you have one, in between the knees and bringing the head back down onto the mat. Arms can come out to a T or up into cactus arms, whatever feels right and comfortable for you. And we're going to lift the knees up, feet up, and then just relax them over to one side of your mat. Now, as you do this, you'll feel hopefully a really gorgeous twist in the thoracic region of the spine. As you lie here, you may also notice that the opposite shoulder wants to lift off the ground. So the intent here is to try to keep this shoulder rooted onto the ground. And what that does is that it intensifies the twist in the upper spine. But what that might mean is your knees are maybe hovering up off the ground. And if that feels like it's not restful for you, you can try a couple of things. You might just pop the blanket under your knees like this. Or you could even, if you can go a little lower, you might wrap the blanket around, so a little under and then a little in between. So just take time to get yourself in a position where you feel that lovely balance between getting the benefit of the twist in your spine, but also the support of your legs so that you can then just melt into the pose. And then once you've found that place, taking another deep breath and letting go and coming into stillness as we hold this for a few minutes. Watching the breath floating along the top of every inhale all the way to its conclusion, and then floating again down on the exhale, feeling that deep and relaxing sense of release. Completing 3 more breaths here in this twist to one side of the body. when you've finished those, very slowly and carefully moving back to center. So the easiest way to do this is just to lift one leg up first and place that foot on the mat, and then the other meets it. Taking a moment here back in center to just feel how your back feels now that you've had that extended twist on one side. And then ready to move into the twist on the other side. So again, whatever you did on the first side of the body, replicating that on the other side, but it doesn't mean you need to stay with it. You might decide to change things up. So on the exhale, moving the legs to the opposite side of the mat now, allowing the knees to come down as far as they can, ensuring that the opposite shoulder is rooted into the mat. And taking a moment to just make any adjustments that you need so that you can hold this position with that tension between feeling the twist in the upper spine, feeling an openness through the ribs here, but also feeling supported and relaxed in the legs, so that you can give yourself into stillness and a giving in, a melting into the pose. Keeping breath steady and smooth, not forcing anything. It's natural and it's easy and it's light. Just remaining observant of the thoughts that rise as we lie here in stillness. And when the mind begins to wander, observing, noting that it has wandered without any judgment. And then with the exhale, just releasing that thought and placing your attention gently on the breath. your final exhale, moving slowly back up to center. So first lifting the top knee, placing the foot on the mat, moving the blanket if it's in between your knees, and bringing both feet flat on the mat, and just coming again to this midpoint of relaxing the back against the mat and feeling into the back, noticing any changes that have occurred, enjoying the sense of release that perhaps has occurred since we've now stretched and twisted on both sides of the back. Rolling off now to the right side to come up to a seated position. We're going to move now into a supported half frog. So we're going to use the bolster for this, placing it along the top half of the mat. So this works deeply into an external rotation of the hips. We're going to lie the torso along the bolster. And then we'll begin by bringing the left leg out to a right angle from the body, and the lower leg comes at a right angle to the thigh, and then the foot is dorsiflex, so the toes come towards the shin. So from here we can then find a place of comfort. So it might be that this is good for you with your pelvis up on the bolster, or you can move so that your pelvis drops off the bolster, which will give you a little bit more of an opening through that hip. So work again with what your body says it is needing and enjoying. And then when you feel ready, resting the cheek facing your leg and giving into this hip opener. So allowing the upper body to just rest along the bolster, so hands can maybe come so that the palms face the sky. Making sure that the knee of your straightened leg doesn't feel any pressure. If you do feel some pressure, you can place a blanket under your thigh. Just enjoy the sensation of the heart being pressed against the bolster and the sense of comfort that this can bring, while at the same time enjoying the openness in your left hip. And making sure that there's no tension creeping into especially the back side of the body, so the right buttock, making sure that that's nice and relaxed. Just feeling the wave of each inhale and exhale, repeating over and over, a beautiful rhythm of life, allowing that rhythm to be the object upon which you rest your attention. going to prepare to move out of half frog pose here. We're taking a deeper inhale, and on the exhale, pushing the hands underneath the shoulders into the mat to lift the torso off the bolster, and then bending into the right knee to bring the left knee beside it. And coming to the end of your mat, taking a moment to really bring awareness to how your hips are feeling, and then moving to the other side. So I'll switch my bolster to the other end of the mat so that I'm not facing away, but you can just bring the other knee out. So again, like we did last time, placing the torso along the bolster. Bringing the right knee out at a right angle this time. Shin is at right angles to the thigh, and the foot is dorsiflexed towards the shin. And then when you're ready, placing the torso along the bolster, and it might be that you want to swivel down a little bit so that the pelvis is off the bolster. Just work with what feels right for your body. Finding a position where you feel that you can remain in a supported manner for an extended period of time, and then when you're there, coming into stillness once more. Making sure that you're not holding your body in any way that you don't need to. So I find that putting my palms facing up really helps to make sure I'm not holding myself using my arms, and that I allow the bolster to bear the weight of my torso. And enjoying that sense of openness at the front of the right hip. Enjoying the heart being held and comforted by the bolster. And really coming or drawing your attention inward. Breath is long and smooth and steady. It's natural and it's easy. Scanning the body, making sure that nothing has started to tense up that doesn't need to. Even little details like the eyes, keeping them soft, making the jaw nice and soft by parting the teeth slightly. Left buttock is completely relaxed, it doesn't need to hold you up. And everything's just melting. as we prepare to move out of supported frog pose, just take a couple more deeper breaths. And like we did last time, using the hands to bring our body upright, so pressing the hands underneath the shoulders so that the torso can lift. And then coming up into a tabletop pose. And once again, pausing just to notice how you feel after that really deep hip opener at the front of the hips. So as a counter pose to what we've just done, we're going to just spend a little bit of time in wide leg supported child's pose. Bringing knees to the outer edges of your mat so they're nice and wide, and then bringing the bolster in between the knees. And it's as simple as laying the torso along the bolster so that you can feel very supported and comforted. I realise my microphone's on the wrong side here. I'm going to switch it over. So as you lie here in supported child's pose, see if you can lengthen out through the lower back. Almost like the pelvis is being gently stretched away from the spine. And then the arms can come to just lie passively on the floor. There's no need for the arms to do anything to support you. And allow the weight of your torso to rest comfortingly on the bolster. Such a comforting pose, so good for moments of anxiety, or if you find you can't sleep, this is a really good pose to come and hang out in. And then just tune into your breath. To keep our neck evenly balanced, just very quietly lifting the head up and turning the opposite cheek onto the bolster. Once again, scanning the body, seeing if there's any tension that's crept in that you can let go. Feeling it soften through the thoracic region as you lengthen and relax the spine. The pelvis lengthening away from the lower back area. breaths here. And when you've finished those, turning the palms so that the hands come onto the mat and pressing into the hands to lift the head and the torso up, and just pausing here with straight arms for a moment, and then gently walking the hands in towards the body until you come upright, and then again pausing at the top, being really slow and mindful in our movements, tuning in to how your body is feeling at this moment, allowing the mind and the head and the sense of uprightness to adjust. So move now into a supported deer pose. So my bolster is going to go further along my mat, and I'm placing my right hip up against the bolster and bringing the shin so that it's at a right angle to the thigh. There's a couple of ways. The easier version is just to bring the left leg so that it is cradled by the right foot, or you can move that back at a 90-degree angle again, so it almost looks like the two bits of a pinwheel. And this is giving us a really beautiful external rotation with this hip and an internal rotation with the left hip. So just play with what feels right for your body, whether it's further up here or the extended pose. And then we're going to turn our torso to face the bolster, so we're getting a really gorgeous twist, and coming down once more to lie our chest along the bolster. So you can do this. The easier on your neck is to have your head facing the same way as your legs. But if you feel that it's delicious for you, then you can face your neck in the opposite direction, and that will increase the twist. So again, never go into pain. Always go to where it feels that you're maybe at your edge, but never into pain. And once you feel that you are supported, that the position is right for you, then come into stillness. Bringing your attention inward and allowing the breath to carry you into a deeper state of rest and relaxation. Allowing the props in the floor to support your body so that your muscles don't have to. They can just let go. 3 final breaths. And this is such a deep twist. It's very important that we move out super slowly. So just begin by pressing into the forearms and hands. I'm not even moving my torso, I'm just pressing into those hands and forearms. And then on the next exhale, moving my torso further upright till my arms are straight and holding here for a moment. Just breathing, allowing my muscles to slowly let go. And then walking the hands back towards the body. And coming back into deer pose, noticing how you're feeling. We'll just do a little mobilizer of our hips, so allowing our knees to fall one side and then the other, just bringing a little bit of movement back into those hip joints after they've held those rotations for an extended period of time. And when you've done an even number of those on both sides, we can move to deer pose on the other side. So I'll switch sides on my mat so I continue to face your direction, but you feel free to just keep the bolster where it is and turn around. Okay, so now my left hip is against the bolster. My left leg comes out with my shin at a right angle. Just going to move so that that's on the mat. And then we can begin with the right knee cradled up into the left foot. Or if you'd like a little bit more of an intense mobilization of your hips, bringing that so that it's at right angles with the left thigh, and then again the shin is at right angles to the right thigh. So when you feel that you're ready, with the legs at the appropriate place for your body, turning to face the bolster, and once again laying the torso down, choosing where feels right for you, whether your head is turned towards your legs or away. So just take a moment to find your right position. It might take a little bit of adjustment. And then when you feel that you're at the appropriate edge and level of support for your body, taking a slightly deeper breath and just melting into the pose. Allow the bolster and the floor to do all the work for you, and just release and relax. There's a deep twist occurring in the spine. There's deep rotation occurring in the hips, but it's all so passive now that you're supported here. Allowing you to come into your breath. 3 final breaths here. And then, like we did last time, pressing the hands and the forearms into the mat and just feeling that intention to rise up. You'll notice it just alleviates a little bit of pressure of the torso on the bolster. And then on your next exhale, pushing the arms so that they come straight and pausing here. Allowing the back to adjust. We've stretched it quite deeply, so we're moving out very carefully. And then walking the hands back up towards the spine. Coming back into deer pose. And then once again, just doing a little hip mobilization. So windshield wipe. Allowing the knees to fall side to side. Bringing movement back into those hip joints. This next pose is reclined butterfly or Supta Baddha Konasana. So I'm going to have my bolster again in the same position and bring my sacrum up to the bolster. Then I'm going to bring my feet together so the soles of my feet come to touch. And you might find it's better to have your feet closer to your body or a little bit further away. So just work with your body and what it's telling you is right for what you need. It's a nice hip opener again. And then we're going to lay the back along the bolster, but to do so, first of all, pressing in and mobilizing the thoracic region by just arching up through the spine and then allowing the spine to gently release along the bolster. You may find here that your head your neck isn't able to relax, so I like to place a little cushion or my blanket underneath the head and neck to support me. And if you feel any kind of pinching or digging sensation in the lower back, you can relieve this by just lifting the pelvis off the ground, lengthening the tailbone away, and then just placing it back down again, and you should find that that lengthens out the lower back, allowing it to relax a little more. So finding a moment now to settle in, see what your body needs. You might play with moving the legs further away or closer towards you. And noticing also if the shoulders feel open across the collarbones, so rolling the shoulders down and away. And then the palms coming to face the sky. So beautiful little back bend for the upper back. And a hip opener. This reclined butterfly is another really wonderful pose for if ever you're experiencing anxiety. And if you feel any pulling too in the upper groin or the hip flexor area, you can also prop up using another blanket or cushions underneath the thighs. And that just allows these muscles in here to really relax because they're no longer being pulled. So you can see I've kind of used my hands here to support the legs. And then when you've found your yum position, just giving in, letting go, melting into the bolster. Heart is shining forward, and breath can draw deeply, easily into the body. creep into the face, so softening the forehead and eyebrows, feeling the eyes and the muscles of the eyes soften, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the neck, opening through the collarbones, shoulders are melting over the bolster. No pinching in the lower back, relaxing those belly muscles if they've accidentally tightened up. And really pressing into that sense of everything is melting. Everything is surrendered into this effortless pose. Three more breaths here. And when you've completed your third breath, to move out of the pose, we're going to begin by placing hands against the floor and using hands and forearms to press into the floor and lift the head up. Use the hands to close your legs together like the pages of a book and pressing up onto your sit bones, extending one leg long and then the other, and just allowing the feet to rotate side to side to bring some movement back into the hip joints, where we've once again worked really deeply. So from here we're going to now move into our final pose before we come into Shavasana, so ending where we started. So this is a forward fold called Caterpillar. And in order to support a really natural state for our back, or healthy back, we're going to use the little cushion underneath the sit bones. So I pop my sit bones up onto the very edge of it so that I'm just teetering on the edge. And then we can use our bolster in a couple of ways. So Caterpillar, basically, we come into a forward fold, so moving into the forward fold on an exhale and moving from the hips. But the upper body is very relaxed and it's passive, but what happens is we get a really lovely stretch along the posterior chain of the body. But what can happen for a lot of people is that this pose can exacerbate some lower back problems. So we can use the bolster underneath the knees in order to support a bent knee position, which then allows us to really tip from the hips and relax the body forward. So moving in on the exhale, just relaxing the torso over the legs, relaxing the neck. So I'm feeling a lovely sense of tractioning in the upper body as it's supported here. So this may work for you, but if you're feeling like you don't need the knees as bent, we can move the bolster out of the way and come back into a straight leg position. As long as we're tipping from the hips, feeling no niggles in the lower back, we can just come to rest the upper body passively over the lower body. We can also use the bolster to support us. So it might be that you're here with the bolster, I've got it wedged between my legs, and I'm just able to passively rest my upper body here. If you've got greater flexibility in the hamstrings, you might place the bolster across the knees or even lengthways. So find what is working for your body. Remember, there's nothing to prove here. It's a beautiful forward fold that should give us a lovely gentle stretch along the posterior chain of the body without any exacerbating of lower back problems. And when you found your position, coming into stillness, riding every breath, gently inhaling and noticing all the way to the end of the inhale, and riding the exhale back down to its conclusion. Just watching thoughts as they arise and becoming aware of them, and gently lifting the mind off of that train of thought and coming back to the breath. Making sure there's no tension creeping into the jaw or the shoulders, so relaxing shoulders away from the ears if they've maybe crept up. Just spending half a minute more here. Just really feel that sense of release and giving into this pose. And to come out doing so slowly and mindfully, placing hands against the floor, gently lifting head up off the bolster if you have it on that, and walking the hands ever so carefully back until you're upright once more. And then just as a little release, bringing the hands behind the body and leaning into the arms and feeling the spine in a very slight back bend as a counter pose. Now into our final resting pose, back where we started. So I invite you again to use the cushion or blanket underneath your head and the bolster under your knees, but if that's not working for you and you want to just lie flat against the floor, that is completely good and completely okay. So the spine feels long as we rest back into Shavasana. Allowing the body to just give in. And checking alignment that the head and neck are in line with the spine. Feeling that sense of length at the back of the neck by pressing the head into the mat gently and tilting the chin towards the chest. Releasing. Shoulder blades coming to rest underneath the back. Palms facing the sky, a little bit away from the body. Happy back. And feet falling towards the outer edges of the mat. And now bringing attention to your breath. To pay particular attention to the moment where you arrive at the very top of the inhale. Just notice and pay full attention to that moment when inhale stops. Maybe there's a little pause and then exhale commences. Without any sense of striving or forcing, see if you can lengthen that pause at the top of the inhale, just for 1 or 2 counts. And as you continue to notice that slightly longer pause between inhale and exhale, see if you can also notice with it a sense of spaciousness, openness, floating. Almost like a slow motion jump when you're on a trampoline. That moment when you're suspended, weightless, in between the rise and the fall. Letting that practice go now and just coming back to your resting breath. Tuning into how you feel at the end of this practice. Noticing if there's a sense of buzzing or pulsing in the body. Sense of lightness or maybe heaviness, but a heaviness that is positive and relaxing in the muscles. And hopefully a sense of quietness in the mind, of spaciousness. Now to move out of Shavasana as we come towards the end of our practice. So taking a slightly deeper breath and reawakening fingers and toes by rubbing fingers together, wiggling toes, and then larger movements, so wrists and ankles rotating one way then the other. And maybe pushing out through one leg, feeling movement in the hips and then the other. And bringing knees up into a bent position and rolling off to your right side. And taking a moment to just pause here. Holding on to stillness, one moment more. And then using your top hand to push up into a cross-legged position. Hands at heart center. And hopefully this practice has been very relaxing for you and that you're feeling positive at the end of it. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.